the frozen terror. The howling wind pierced my ears, the biting cold gnawing at my skin. Antarctica, what a hellish place to be stranded. Our research team had been left in the vast, frozen wasteland for months, gathering data on the ice sheet and the wildlife that survived here against all odds. But what none of us had prepared for, what we couldn't have imagined in our wildest nightmares, was the thing that hunted us. It had started with strange tracks in the snow, massive inhuman footprints far too large to belong to any animal we knew of. At first we laughed it off, thinking it had to be some optical illusion caused by melting ice. But then we heard the sounds. At night, when the wind quieted for a moment, we'd hear the heavy, slow crunching of snow outside our research station, like footsteps, but slower, deliberate, watching, waiting. One night, Daniel, one of our team members, decided to follow the tracks on his own, convinced that if he could just snap a photo, we'd be famous. He never came back the next morning. We found nothing but his camera and his blood staining the untouched snow. That was when the fear began to creep into our minds, but it was already too late to leave. The storm had rolled in, blizzard conditions locking us in place for days. Our radios were useless, the helicopter grounded. We were trapped, isolated from the world with it. I thought I was hallucinating at first, when I saw the creature looming outside the window, a towering figure, white as the snow that swirled around it, with red eyes gleaming in the darkness. Its fur was matted and covered in frost, but the thing that froze me in place was its face, half human, half beast, twisted, and a rage so deep, so primal, I felt my heart stop. That's when it smashed through the wall. I barely made it out of the station alive, the icy wind stinging my face as I sprinted across the ice. The others, they didn't have a chance. I heard their screams, but I couldn't go back. If I slowed down, even for a second, that thing would catch me. It chased me, thundering after me with earth-shaking strides. Its breath, like a gust of warm steam, hit my back as I scrambled across the ice, slipping and sliding in a desperate attempt to escape. I could hear it behind me, its guttural growls blending with the wind. My lungs burned, my body numb from the cold. I knew I couldn't outrun it for long. Ahead, the ice stretched endlessly with no shelter in sight, nothing but the frigid horizon and death waiting at the edge of the world. But then I saw a tan old ice cavern, barely visible beneath a ridge of snow. I darted for it, praying that I could fit inside before it got me. I threw myself through the narrow opening just as its massive hand swiped at the air behind me. Inside, the cave was dark, damp, and freezing, but it was my only hope. I crawled deeper, the walls narrowing around me. I could still hear the creature outside, pacing, snarling. It couldn't fit inside, but it didn't leave either. It knew I had no way out. Days passed, or maybe just hours. It was impossible to tell. My body grew weaker, the cold sucking the life out of me slowly. I could hear it every now and then, pacing just beyond the cave entrance, waiting for me to emerge. I knew that eventually the ice would give way to madness. Eventually, I'd have to leave this place, and when I did, it would be waiting. The hunger gnawed at me, my fingers too stiff to move anymore. The air in the cave was thin, and each breath became a struggle. But even in the deepest silence, I could hear it out there, always there. The Yeti, the thing that haunts Antarctica, a creature born of ice and rage, chasing me forever in this frozen prison. And I know, without a doubt, that when I step outside, it will catch me, and no one will ever know what happened to me.